The more we grow as a team, as a company, as a mission, as a brand, the more of a journey of letting go it is than actually taking on.
If you're trying to regulate your nervous system to expand your horizons, whether that's relationships or for your business, how do you understand where you're currently at with your nervous system so that you can actually make an improvement so that you can better your life?
We have this thing called the fake window of tolerance. This is where most people actually operate. So we've got this healthy nervous system that can experience contraction and expansion, right? It can go up and down. Keyword is it can come back down. What goes up has to come back down. And if you don't have ways to soothe your nervous system, regulate your nervous system, this is where people hit burnout. This is where people crash. This is where people achieve a wild level of success. And then
how do you expand your capacity to allow success?
if we're talking financial success, business success, creating wealth, generating wealth.
From your experience, what's the one major bottleneck that's holding people back from achieving their goals?
Depends what goals we're talking about. Business, relationship, health. Within those three categories, what comes to mind would be a lack of capacity in each of them. And what I mean by that is capacity, meaning the capacity within your nervous system and within how you see yourself. The self-image that you have, the beliefs that you hold, and your nervous system's identity, because we have a nervous system identity as well. And it's kind of like a thermostat that'll regulate us back down to what we believe to be true about ourselves. And then our nervous system will also expand to the size of the container that we believe that we're either worthy of or that we have that we've created for ourselves. So I would say in all of those three, it'd come down to capacity.
How do you expand your capacity to allow success?
If we're talking financial success, business success, creating wealth, generating wealth, growing, scaling your company, your team, or whatever it is, the more I've personally grown in that way, in that field, it's required more responsibility. And typically when we're asked to take on more responsibility, it also reveals all of the younger parts of us as well that also come up that might not feel worthy of the thing that you want to create. Responsibility will awaken these younger, which we'll speak about when I mean younger parts. The little boy or the little girl, it like business, creating success is like one of the most spiritual personal growth journeys you'll ever go on. Because that maturation process, the maturing that it requires to actually expand your capacity to either feel worthy of what it is that you're creating, and then to have this space in your nervous system to actually achieve that thing or create that thing it's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility, and how we actually expand that nervous system and create that is a couple different things. First of all, it's challenging our belief in the way that we actually see ourselves. Do you deem yourself worthy of what it is that you actually want to create? And that's so it begins with the self-image that we hold about ourselves. And again, the more layers and levels of success that I've created, the more it's challenged the parts of me that haven't felt worthy of the thing that I want, right? But within that is actually there's a contraction within the nervous system as well. If I don't feel that I am worthy of making a certain amount of money per month, my nervous system, if I make more than what I feel I'm worthy of, it's actually a threat to my nervous system because it goes against my identity, my self-image. And when we go against our identity, our self-image, it's a threat to our nervous system because our nervous system only knows safety based on what's familiar. If what's familiar is I am unworthy of making $100,000 a month, that's familiar to your nervous system. So anything other than that, if you make $105,000, it's going to exceed the ceiling within your nervous system and go against everything you've ever believed to be true about yourself, which is unfamiliar to your nervous system, which is unsafe to your nervous system. And when it's unsafe, therefore, we go into shutdown, or we do something to fuck it up. We do something to sabotage it, to bring it back down to what's safe and comfortable for our nervous system. So, yeah.
Is your sales process right now an absolute mess? You have a spreadsheet, tracking a spreadsheet, you're trying to use a Zapier flow, and everything is just kind of falling apart. Well, scaling your high-ticket sales team is tough. Getting to the next level with your sales team is difficult, and you need the right platform to get there. Check out Aura down below, and you'll see exactly how to track every inch of your sales process, from scheduling your calls, tracking your leads, tracking all your analytics, and most importantly, all the closes inside your business. Aura is the only sales platform that does full end-to-end management of your sales process. This is the main solution right now for high-ticket sales teams to optimize every inch of your sales process. So if you're a coach or a founder or an agency owner, check out Aura for a full free 7-day trial. Nervous system identity is everything I've never heard before. How do you come to terms with that and almost understand where you're currently at and where you're going to? Because when you think of nervous system regulation, you think of slowing down, maybe breathing, becoming more in tune with your body. But if you're trying to regulate your nervous system to expand your horizons, whether that's relationships or for your business, how do you understand where you're currently at with your nervous system so that you can actually make an improvement so that you can better your life?
The way it's unfolded for me is we have this thing called the window of tolerance within our nervous system. It comes from the work from Dr. Stephen Porges, which is polyvagal theory. And basically what it is he shows this graph or this scale of what we have is our window of tolerance. Anything outside of the window of tolerance is what is activating to our nervous system, which is fight or flight, right? And then outside of fight or flight, when you can't result to fight or flight anymore, we go into shutdown. Okay. So a healthy nervous system is one that can flow between this natural window of tolerance. So basically what a window of tolerance is you can go up into into sympathetic activation, right? So you can go into fight or flight and you can come back down. But the issue is when you can't come back down, because you're stuck in this maybe identity of I'm not enough, so I have to keep doing. I'm not enough, I have to keep driving, striving, achieving, whatever it is, right? You don't, or you struggle to sit still. Or maybe you've had an amazing month, but you haven't actually fully received it in your body and it hasn't landed for you yet. A healthy nervous system is one that can go up, but also come back down.
What's coming up for me here is when we did our breathwork session at my event and you came over to me and you said that specifically in my stomach, it felt like I was like holding something here a lot. And I felt like I was almost like stuck in here. That's coming up for me right now. And it's quite an interesting observation because it is that. My question is what's the difference between that and tolerating negatives? Because, we always say like, what are you tolerating in your business? What is going on in your business right now that you're tolerating? We have a successful business, so do you. I felt at times I've been tolerating shit for longer than I needed to.
Yeah. And
then also just as we're growing, it's obviously cause an impact positively and negatively at the same time.
So what's the question?
When you reference that study about what you're tolerating in terms of what can come into your nervous system, what's the case when people are tolerating so much shit that's kind of beating them down on top of that? Whether it's bad team members, bad relationship, bad friends. It sounds like there's like a double-edged sword of the tolerating, right? And they're in that state of stress versus coming down and regulating.
Yeah. We have this thing called the fake window of tolerance. This is where most people actually operate. So we've got this healthy nervous system that can experience contraction and expansion, right? It can go up and down. Keyword is it can come back down, right? Because eventually, like what goes up has to come back down. And if you don't have ways to soothe your nervous system, regulate your nervous system, this is where people hit burnout. This is where people crash. This is where people achieve a wild level of success and then experience deep depression or just have huge crashes or lose it all or whatever, is because they haven't learned ways how to actually integrate this new capacity. Okay, so that's the healthy nervous system, one that can come up and down, and you can flow in between this sense of safety. And when we're in this, what I call it's called the green zone, this is where we're and this is the crazy part about this is most people are afraid. I know a lot of entrepreneurs are afraid to actually slow down and prioritize regulating their nervous system because they think it's not productive. But here's the thing, when you're operating in the green zone, this is literally where creativity comes from. Like creativity comes from boredom. It comes from the stillness, from the silence, from the slowness. 100%. This is where you're most open. This is where you're literally like your power, like you're most creative. This is where those things that you've been probably like the decisions you've been stewing on for months just drop in. It's like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. Like it's just so clear. So that's the healthy nervous system. But the fake window of tolerance is when we are in a state of constant activation all the fucking time. We're constantly in this perpetual state of sympathetic mode, of this cortisol activation, fight or flight all the freaking time. We have what's called a fake window of tolerance where we kind of bounce up and down from shutdown, which is overwhelm, fuck this, I can't do this anymore, I'm done with this, turn to scrolling, Netflix, porn, drinking, vaping, smoking, sex, anything to get out of this feeling. So shutdown is I can't be with this anymore, and I need to escape, and I need something to make me feel better. That's shutdown. But beneath that, in the red zone, shutdown's blue. Beneath that, in the red, is the sympathetic, which is that fight or flight. Is the I can do this. I can do this. I can do this, right? I can keep pushing. I can keep striving. And then we bounce from I can do this to I can't fucking do this. I can do this, right? So we're bouncing in this fake window of tolerance where we're not actually operating from this safe zone of capacity. So it's not a real capacity. It's not an actual openness. Your nervous system's in a perpetual state of contraction. And over a long enough period of time, it is a matter of time, right, before what goes up has to come back down. And you'll be forced. Like there's so many stories out there of people who've achieved amazing success and then became extremely sick, right? At some point, you will be forced to sit in stillness, to slow down, to actually prioritize your nervous system. And if you're willing to listen to the subtle signs now, amazing, but I've seen too many entrepreneurs burn out and kill themselves along the way. I've almost done it myself too. Yeah. What do you think was the underlying reason why they were perpetually working harder? Yeah, I think because we live in a society that rewards people who perform at such a high level that's beyond human. We literally reward it. Yeah. Like and to be operating at that level, you can't always just be in this green zone, this regulated zone. You can't always be in that. So this fake window of tolerance, bouncing between constant activation and shutdown, what keeps us there is we have things to cope and manage, like coffee. Yeah. As we're drinking coffee right now. As we're drinking coffee.
I think that the biggest thing is, for me, that I kind of think about through this problem is it's not a problem until it is a problem. And, first happens slowly, then it all happens at once. It comes crashing down. It affects other areas of your life, your relationships, your health, which is less obvious in the short term and more obvious in the long term. When you mention the creativity, if you think about like the entrepreneur or just anyone, like a lot of the reason why you'll get out of the situation that you're in will be based on your creative solutions. Let me give you an example. If you remember, like Steve Jobs back in the day, he literally went to India to become more creative. He got rid of his shoes. He walked around India. Bill Gates, once a month or once a quarter, would go to a cabin and read 60 books in a weekend or whatever that was. They were deliberately looking at these windows of opportunity to become more creative, which allowed them to regulate their nervous system, come back down. I just spoke this morning about this, about how we need to have those 24 hours or 48 hours to be able to realign priorities. Now, my question for you is like, this is obviously different for everyone. So how can someone who's already operating at a high level implement this without feeling like they're going backwards?
Yeah. It's really important to understand that we are seasonal beings, that we are very connected to nature. And just as nature goes through seasons, so do we.
Awesome.
Yeah. But when most people want to spend their entire life in summer, what they're doing is what you resist will persist. So when you push away winter, it's going to smack you in the face real fucking hard. So basically it's honoring that we are seasonal beings, and you got to intentionally allow yourself to go into the cave for a little bit, to be quiet for a little bit, to be in stillness, to slow down. Because what happens in the stillness is the essential integration of this identity. That's the key piece. The more success that I've created, the more time I actually spend time on my own in stillness, in the cave, slowly integrating, creating space for my nervous system to catch up. If your nervous system doesn't catch up and you're operating at a level, let's say your nervous system is thermostat level 20 and you've just achieved level 100, but you haven't actually integrated that in your nervous system, right? And it's now, I'm just going to keep pushing these results of 100 because this is what's normal for me now. And then I can't actually keep this anymore, right? I don't have it within my nervous, like I just can't, you eventually, for example, with my content, right? For two full years, I posted 3 to 4 times every single day by myself, while running a team, while coaching the guys, while doing sales and stuff like that. And for a long time, it was manageable until it wasn't. And I woke up one day, I'm like, my body literally can't do it. Like I can't pick up my phone. I can't look at my phone, and I just can't do it anymore. So I've actually been in an intentional season of slowing down and actually integrating the last few years, and now going, okay, cool. How am I going to do things differently and do it from a real capacity within my nervous system instead of this fake reactive mode of waking up every day and just being in reacting. Yeah.
And I think just an observation I've made of you as well is you've leveled up so much as a result of that. You've went from doing all your content yourself, being like the hustler, the executor, to building a team, to taking on that leader responsibility, to instilling your beliefs, to educating and inspiring people around you. So part of your slowing down process is you actually monumentally jumping up. And that's been fucking awesome to observe in you, right? To see that jump. So it's almost like you don't need to do the things that got to where you are now if you truly want to level up, 1, in your business, but 2, as a person. Because you can't run a huge sales team, content team, delivery team all at once. So again, you only rise to the level of your nervous system.
Yes.
In many regards.
Yeah.
And also, man, like your business is a reflection of you. So if you're chaotic, running around in madness, who do you attract? And also, what is your business? What is the actual inner workings of your business like?
Before we move any further, I have one short question to ask you. Have you been enjoying these episodes so far? Because if you have, I would truly appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel to help more business owners grow their online business today.
The identity piece, the more, and I'll say it for the listeners, I'm 28 years old and I've made millions of dollars and I live a pretty epic life. I'm not going to lie. The more success, the more we grow as a team, as a company, as a mission, as a brand, the more I actually have to let go. The more 100%. Of the journey of letting 100%. Go it is than actually taking on. Now, the concept of letting go requires a very key aspect that 99% of the population are completely disconnected from, which is grieving. If you are unable to intentionally live in relationship with grief, you aren't able to honor the seasons. You aren't able to allow the old versions of you that got you to where you are today to actually die. And there's a deep grieving process in that. And what I mean by grieving is I've noticed that when I achieve a whole new level of, let's say, monthly income or amount of views or whatever, or social media engagement, what I notice is the more I achieve this new level, there's like a tighter grip around it. There's like a more of a grasping of like a more of an attachment to this thing of like, wow, I've just hit this much money per month, or I've just reached 1 million followers. And it's like this, I notice when I reach that milestone, there's like this attachment. And I actually intentionally, every time I reach a milestone, I will go into a breath work or into a deep meditation practice, and I'll actually intentionally practice letting it all go, burning it all to the ground, allowing it to actually all disappear. And for me to not have a fucking social media, for me to not have any money in my bank account, because what I'm doing is I'm actually allowing myself to grieve what got me there. So I'm no longer attached to that, if that makes sense.
So as a result, you can actually open up more space for where you want to go to.
Yes.
Why do you think that attachment is always there? Is it more like a loss aversion just in life, right? We chase the girl that, you know, like breaks the guy's heart, or we can't let go of the relationship, or we can't let go of an argument, right? We hold a grudge. Like where does that stem from? And that festers and, it manifests in your relationship, in your business, everywhere.
Yeah. I think as much as we say our mission is about the impact, right?
This is a whole conversation in itself, man. Yeah.
For most people, there's still quite a level of attachment there around, what that thing is going to bring you.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And that's human.
Yeah, of course. What the fuck are you doing it?
Yeah.
We don't have to be altruistic completely.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're helping people in general, but you don't need to be fully, oh yes, I'm going to give away all my money to charity. It's like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to say that. You can have self-motivations and help people.
Yeah. I would say the attachment typically comes from what it is that you thought that thing would bring you. And then it didn't bring you the feeling that you thought it would. So it becomes this even more, okay, well, I need 2 million followers, and maybe I'll feel that way if I have 2 million. So the letting go is actually the letting go of what it was that you thought that you would feel, or that this thing would actually bring you, or what you thought would finally happen. And what I mean by this is a lot of the times, especially men in business, they're climbing this ladder of success. You could consciously be aware of this as much as you want, but there's deep unconscious wounding and work that's actually happening that is beyond your conscious mind. Most men are climbing a ladder that's up a wall, and the little boy within him one day put this ladder up against the wall, hoping that at the top of that ladder would be dad's approval. So he achieves the level of success or whatever, and he's like, it just doesn't feel, it's cool, whatever, numbers, I get to live an amazing life. There's just this, something's just missing. No, I'm just going to keep working some more. I'm just going to keep going. What's the next thing, right? But without acknowledging the deep underlining emotion or deep underlining driver of the thing that you thought that you were going to get when you finally got there, without acknowledging that, again, it just becomes a perpetual state of you're living in survival, climbing this ladder, hoping that you might get to one certain stage where you're going to get what you needed as a little boy. And this is where until we actually grieve our childhood and reclaim the little boy within us, or the little girl, we are continuously seeking to fulfill what we didn't have in childhood in the world, from the world. If you didn't get the approval from your father, you'll probably build a business that gives you a lot of attention and approval, and it'll never feel enough. But what it is metaphorically that you're seeking and striving towards is this invisible parental figure that it'll never feel enough, because you can't fulfill what you didn't have in childhood today. It's impossible.
So let's get really granular with that. So like I would say like I would largely fall into that bracket. So like I was from like a sport family. Well, I was the athlete in the family. It was a sport family. Like the plan was to be a professional athlete because I was thick as a wall as a kid. Obviously I had like a really bad relationship with my family, like disconnected from my family, all this kind of stuff. But it came from like that extreme pressure. And then adding to that is my interest in sport, of course, which then all adjusted towards business, content world, all things like this. So I recognize that like that's a deep-seated approach coupled with, years of abuse as a child, like very, very bad abuse as a child. However, I don't recognize whether I appreciate, I would consider myself to appreciate the moment now and appreciate what we do now. But then it's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. So how does someone know if they're appreciating the moments that they're in? Like how do you know that, right?
Yeah.
Is there something that you can kind of work towards to be like, oh, I do appreciate it? Because I would say that I would, but maybe your observation, if you went deeper, is like, oh, no, you're not. And like, that's completely fair, right? It's kind of like when someone in the business says they're doing great and they're actually, all their markers are red. It's like you didn't know that thing until someone who knew that thing told you how it was meant to be and it flagged red.
Yeah. It comes in someone's inability to be like deeply present. A lot of people think that they can be present, but I guarantee you it's right. Can you create enough space and stillness to deeply become present with like the subtlety of this moment? And can you be deeply present to it's a hard thing to actually try and explain because it's an experiential thing. It's kind of like it's difficult to feel the subtlety of the present moment when you're constantly running. You're constantly on the go, right? If your nervous system feels that you're constantly running from a lion, right? There's no stopping and smelling the roses, right? Because you're literally in survival. I have to keep running. But if we slow down enough to recognize like the lion that's actually behind us, pushing us, chasing us, right? This metaphorical lion, which is typically a deep wound from childhood. If we can slow down enough to actually become present with that, right? And create safety in our nervous system from that place, right? We basically come down into the safe zone, the green zone, where it's like, oh, okay, like I can be here. And within that is a real deep subtlety of presence, because think about it. So your ego is constantly, it thinks in like linear time, past, present, future. So, and by the way, this is one of the most rare traits that most men actually struggle with, is to actually just be present. And it's the most rare trait, and it's also the most valued trait by a woman as well, which is like, explains most relationships, right? Deep presence is, so come back to our conscious mind. It works on past, present, and future. In this present moment, right, we know that we're a grown adult man, right? We got a job, we got responsibilities, whatever, right? We're consciously aware of the future, what might happen in the future, and we're consciously aware of the past. Okay. Now, our conscious mind is only 5 to 7% of us. The rest is unconscious. It's deep unconscious patterns and beliefs and identity and emotions, which is the 95 to 97% of us. Literally controls every part of what we do. Now, if you haven't truly gone back into, and basically the unconscious mind doesn't operate on a timeline. It doesn't know time. That's the thing with it. The conscious mind knows time, past, present, future. So because the unconscious doesn't know time, it can't tell the difference between when you were 5 years old and you had to prove yourself for your dad to be emotionally present with you compared to today. Your unconscious, like your body doesn't know the difference, right? So until we slow down enough to become present with these younger parts of us, these wounds that are actually controlling and driving our life, are you truly present? And most men are in a perpetual state of anxiety, worry, doubt, fear, anxiousness from the fear of what might happen in the future based on what happened in the past. And they're projecting their past wounds into the future of what might happen in this present moment because their body can't tell the difference.
It's super interesting because I'm just thinking about what's the reaction to that. If I'm fearful of the future, what might happen, the catastrophes might happen, what am I going to do today? I'm going to work. I'm going to overstimulate myself at work, which feels like a present moment thing because you are just like in the moment. If I'm working, dude, like I'm very much like locked in, like I'm thinking of what I'm doing. And I actually feel at peace when I'm working because I know I'm contributing towards the anti-feeling of being fucking anxious. So I know that this is a net, in isolation, it's a net positive thing because then I get rid of the future anxiety, which is based off of more anxiety when I don't work for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Not taking the fact, the impact it has on multiple different domains of life of health plus relationships. It sounds like to me that if you don't know are you living in the present or not, then you're definitely not living in the present. You're not able to establish a present. Now, the big question, the big caveat for people, or the big, people are like, this is great, but the objection might be, well, I don't want to slow down. And this is something that actually, even feedback to you, whenever I work with people with personal development offers, I always say, the only thing you got to be careful of is if you're going to help people with this, the entrepreneur or the successful person is conscious of the amount of work that's necessary. Now, everyone wants the magic bullet, but I mean specifically with this stuff, because it's so new and novel to them. They're like, I don't want to put 40 hours in a week to pull back 40 hours from my business. Maybe I could put that into my business. How do you solve that objection for someone?
Are you an agency owner, coach, or consultant looking to scale your online business? At Volks, we help business owners scale their online business with content. We help them specifically build a high-ticket offer, create content that turns into clients, and also help them with the sales process to make sure every single call that's booked in your calendar turns into a client. If you want to see more about exactly how we do this, hit the first link down below and watch a full free training on how smart entrepreneurs are building a business in 2025.
I'll speak on the behalf of men because I work with thousands of men. Is they don't realize that's a problem, or they don't realize there is a problem until there's a breakdown in their relationship. And this is where the feminine, the right woman, will poke at all of the holes in a man's bucket. Right? She will reveal to him where he's living out of integrity with his soul, basically. And this is where a lot of high-performing men would rather just be single because they avoid that initiation from the feminine. It's a lot easier to just be on your own, stay in your bedroom, lock in, and just keep working. Keep working, training, keep striving, whatever. I believe there is a healthy way of doing it, right? Where you understand that it's seasonal and you're able to honor the seasons and what the seasons are needing.
Mm-hmm.
But the inability to actually be seasonal and slow down or speed up or whatever, like that's the problem. Now that's chronic. That's chronic high functioning.
It's called high functioning anxiety, right?
Yes. Yeah. You're running from something.
We had a client before that would literally had that as that's what she did. She was a therapist. It's high functioning anxiety for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's high functioning because it's functionable, like it works and you get rewarded for it and it does well, right? And that's like the paradox to it, right?
It's like there's this bad thing that actually has a good outcome.
Yes.
Fuck,
Yeah.
bro.
But here's the thing, and this is why I every single day, it's a practice of mine. I meditate on death, on me dying. I meditate on all of the people that I love most around me dying. My mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my friends, me, my future family, my future wife. Like I meditate on them actually dying, being on their deathbed, because what death actually teaches us is what actually fucking matters. It brings us straight back into like what is real. And maybe you notice or experience some of that with, this, what you've recently gone through, but grief does this thing where it brings us into the realness and subtlety of life, like what genuinely actually matters. For some people, they want to just, make a whole heap of money and not feel anything. But I know that the fullness of life, the full experience of life comes in the depth and the subtlety of being able to actually feel it fully and to be fully alive.
Yeah, dude. So for context on this, I said this to Tom the other day. We recorded a podcast on Friday. And I said, so the best days in your business are completely mutually exclusive to the worst days of your life. Unless they're tied in tandem, you can have an amazing business and a terrible thing can still happen to you. We still experience grief, debt, sorrow, despair, pain. Just because you're successful doesn't mean you're going to be exempt from it. Perfect example was we made like $530,000 in 1 month, and on the same day, my dog passed away. Same day. And I said to the guys that I would have exchanged that money to live another day with the dog.
Yeah.
And I was joking saying the sales reps wouldn't be that happy with that process. But that's the irony, is like in that moment, it's like, well, what actually matters? And it's like, again, we're not saying we're too altruistic. Like we still need money to buy shit, to live a good life. Like that's not the angle we're going at here. But it's just really good to like experience that emotion and think like, okay, what are you experiencing in that moment, and what actually is valuable. So again, like what I value is like my wife, our dogs, our team, our friends, all that stuff is like what's valuable. And then all the other stuff is kind of like, it's like the muse around it. It exists within it.
Yeah.
But if you don't appreciate it in that moment, and it's funny because when my dog did pass away, we're just, people value humans, fucking dogs, different things. People value different things. But what was very interesting to me was we had this like beautiful ceremony. It was really nice, and different emotions were constantly coming up. It was like anger, pain, frustration, because he wasn't sick his entire life until the very end. As well as that, like a huge appreciation and appreciation, joy, some elements of regret. And it's like for the first time in my life, for a long time for sure, I kind of let those emotions flow. Whereas when it comes to the business, it's more just get shit done, get the right people to do that stuff. There is no emotion in that context. There's a difference of emotion, but is there really emotion? Like, not really. You know what I mean?
I feel that the more you grow and scale a company, typically the more numb you actually have to become.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't know some people that work at my company. Yeah. That's just the reality. I didn't hire them.
Yeah.
I don't interact with them on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that inherently, but I mean that's the reason why. So just for a little bit of context, they call it the valley of death. From 10 to 13 people is generally where most businesses crash because they're slowly letting go of like, oh, like I know your birthday and I know your mom's name and I know your dog's name. And then like where we're at like 25 people, it's like, I just don't know some people. And like, that means a different types of motivation, leadership need to be installed, which I mentioned about what I've already recognized in you. But that's like some of the semantics behind like, how do you actually integrate and show up as a leader? Because dude, I look at dashboards every day, man. Yeah. I don't look at people's emotions. I look at dashboards.
Yeah. Even me looking at like holding people's emotions all the time. Like it also, same thing. Like it can be very like, I can't take if I take all of that on, it would destroy me. It would fuck me up. But, this all comes down to a conversation of values. It is simple as that, right? I personally value depth over surface level. I want to experience the fullness of life, and I value depth over. So what that looks like is there's going to be certain people that I spend time with. Yeah, there's going to be, and it's, by the way, it's felt. Like I feel a difference from you personally today. I feel like you're way more grounded than usual, right? Because I feel like maybe you've probably allowed yourself to feel the grief. With all of this, as I shared, it comes back down to values, like what you actually value in life, in the world. And I know that at the end of the day, what matters most is who's standing around your deathbed. Like that is literally it. Like who are the people that are standing around and what did you leave behind? Like every time. For me, it comes back to that. It's not what kind of watch did I wear or car did I drive. No, it's like who is genuinely of depth around me. Like who's my community, who are my people, my wife, my children, and then the thousands of men that I've impacted and helped, like, are they there, right? So beyond it just being a value, I think certain key initiations have to happen in someone's life for it to become important enough. That's why I only typically work with men when their partner leaves them. Because it's like, okay, now it's a value to do the deep work.
A big event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like an event is, what is it, like Newton's law? Like you need something to be pushed into motion for it to make any change. If you saw someone in the street and you said, hey, I could fix all your relationships, and they're like, oh, I'm black pill. They're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's the same with me with a business. Like you could grow a business if you want to. Oh, but I just want to work a 9 to 5. They need to have a heroic event for them to be kicked into motion. I think one thing that I wanted to kind of double tap on the grief side is really like, so you speak about when you work with them during a difficult period, that's where they come out the other end and they have the antithesis of that. So they've experienced hell and then they're on the path towards heaven in terms of improvement. I think that's the cool part about grief, is the fact that you have to experience those extreme lows to experience the extreme highs.
Yeah.
So through a relationship, myself and my wife is like, we work on a relationship consistently and we have a great relationship, but then we've also had periods of time where it's not being great. We have to double tap on it. So unless you have that ability to go up to an 8 or 9 out of 10 or to 2 to 3 out of 10, you're living in beige land. And that's where it's interesting, because grief brings you so much pain and sorrow because you're finally feeling the cost of your investment into a positive thing. I'll give you an example. If I felt such great joy with my dog Sega, the cost is this pain, which is a good trade-off to have for the life that we had. It's the same with a partner and so on. So it's like, that's where you can look back on something and be like, oh, like yes, this fucking sucks, obviously, but did we not have a great time? Yeah. Otherwise, beige land or numb land of working. Yeah. Like there's many days where I could work 16 hours a day and I feel nothing. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like I don't feel bad or good. I just do it. And in periods, there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, that's not like the true essence of like life. You know?
Seasonal.
Yeah. We
Right.
weren't put on the planet to build a business. You put on the planet to build like a life, a family, relationships, and leave a legacy through the vessel of a business.
Yeah. I feel that that's where the most successful businesses come from, when it's coming from that place of like, it's beyond me. You know, like my message, you know, the work I do, helping men heal developmental trauma, childhood trauma that sabotages their relationships and their business and whatever. There's a lot of depth to that. That goes
insane.
beyond me, and it, you know, stems from like my family and what I experienced as a child, as a boy, and yeah. So there is lots of depth to that, and like I said, I value depth over surface level, but yeah, man. It honestly, there's the depth of love and joy that we can experience in partnership or with the people that we love will bring out the deepest of grief. Because at some point, sometime, we do have to say goodbye to them. And that very thing is actually why people avoid depth. Because they avoid the pain that they will have to face, the grief that will smack them in the face when they lose that thing. So this is where a man who is deeply anxious or insecure in a relationship or reactive or shuts down or gets really overwhelmed is because there's so much at stake. He loves this woman so much. The highs are really high. Things are fucking amazing. It's the most incredible love he's ever experienced. And on the other side of that is the grief of the loss of I might lose this person. Now, the really painful, scary part about that is because as a society, we're so disconnected from ritualistic grieving and grief being a way of life that anything to do with grief, it's like we dance around it, we pretend it's not there, we avoid it at all costs. So would you mean like in that event, let's just say someone passes and then, you know, the family turn to like alcohol, or they focus on soothing mechanics, or just moving on? Yeah. Well, grief is loss of anything that you're emotionally connected to. So it could be a relationship, it could be a career, it could be a season of life living somewhere in a certain city or whatever. There's inherent loss tied to that when the time comes. But the fear of grief is that it's a scary thing to feel, because grief is we're facing death. It's very existential. It's a very existential feeling. And the deepest fear around grief is that I'm going to lose myself in this grief and die. If I allow this can to open, if I allow this bottle to open of grief, it's not going to fucking end and I'm going to die. That is the deepest fear of grief. So we numb, we distract, we avoid, we keep the lid on that bottle, right? Because there hasn't been safe ritualistic spaces in our culture or in the Western society of grieving ritual for that lid to be opened.
What would you recommend to do as a grieving ritual? Like, what does that look like for you?
This is where breath work has come into society. It's really cool. You know, people sitting in circle and going and doing an intentional breathwork session. It's why I love the breath. For me, it's a portal and it's a gateway to my grief. It opens me up to feeling fully. When I've noticed that I've been quite numb or disconnected during the week from work, or just the amount of men's emotions that I'm holding and supporting, I'll intentionally create a 2-hour space to journey with the breath and allow myself to welcome whatever's seeking to be felt. It's my grieving ritual and process. And that's what people are doing when they go sit in circle, or they go to a breathwork event or ceremony and they have this big emotional cathartic release, it's because they're actually creating the space to grieve the emotions that they've been holding on to for so freaking long. But what happens is when we don't have safe ritualistic spaces to actually go do that, to grieve and feel, but to do it in an intentional way of like, I'm going into this to actually grieve a certain thing. This is where the grasping and the attachment starts coming in. We try and hold on to things really tight because we don't want to allow it to actually die or slip away. So the grief is actually going in and feeling the loss of that thing. So sometimes some of the practices of, you know, if there's a man that comes to me and he's like deeply anxious and he's just, I'm so fearful of losing my partner, I'm like, okay, well, we're going to go into a process and you're actually going to grieve losing your partner. You're going to fully feel the thing. So you felt it. So you now have the capacity to be with that because you've actually gone there, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why did they have fear of their partner losing partner? I'm confused on that aspect. Like, is it because of like an event that they did, or the fact that they're like so focused on their business?
Yep. Speaking about relationships specifically, this deep fear that we experience in relationship, a lot of people have heard it called attachment styles or attachment theory. We have anxious attachment, where it's like you're deeply clingy, anxious, needy, constantly need reassurance, validation. Then there's avoidant, which is you keep love at arm's length. You don't let it in because letting it in is a painful experience and you have to be open and vulnerable. And that's overwhelming. These are the strategies that we develop in childhood to either keep love away, protect ourselves, or the strategies we use to gain closeness and connection. So let's say a man who's deeply anxious in a relationship and he's fearful of his partner leaving, and he becomes deeply activated and he turns to these strategies of reassurance, of constantly checking his phone or her phone, or he starts turning to these behaviors of just, I can't stop thinking about her. Like I'm obsessing, I'm ruminating. He's starting to slip into this survival pattern of like, I need this person available for me. Otherwise I'm going to die. As I shared before, our unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between when you're 5 years old and today. So what's happening in that moment is that relationship is triggering the original pain that he still holds, where maybe he had a parent that was emotionally unavailable. And to have a parent that's emotionally unavailable is the scariest shit you can ever experience as a child. Because if you're alone and you're not having your dependency needs met, then you'll die. And that deep, wide fear of I will be alone and die is just, it hasn't been felt. And then a man brings that into his relationship and it leaves him in that state.
Kind of thinking about, you know, when I was younger, I was like, it was a combination of that, like a lot of avoidance, like was never ever close to my father, like ever. And then like a lot of betrayal as I got older, like just extreme betrayal of like trust and responsibility and ownership and stuff. I was very young. I was like 12, 13, 14, especially when it got like extremely bad. And then like how that kind of manifested in my life then was like when I was in my early 20s, was just obviously like partying, very detached, kind of not. But then as I got older, it's really more manifested more in terms of just like output, you know, like extreme output. It's hard. It's you know, this is such a multifactorial thing, right? To try to pin down. I'm just trying to use like an actual like a personal anecdote experience to see how it manifests. Question for you on this is like, when do you see the work is done? When does doing the work mean the work is done, right? Because it's mastery is a lifetime, right?
It's a really great question. And it's funny because we know the work is done, or my personal experience of when I feel that a man has done the work is he has the capacity to grieve, as simple as that. He has the capacity to feel whatever it is that is seeking to be felt in any given moment. He has the capacity to be in stillness and silence and to truly sit with himself and and to be so deeply present not from a place of like, oh, my mind is still and I have no thoughts, but you can feel the difference between when someone's quote unquote present and when someone's actually fucking here. Big difference. You can feel 90% of communication is unconscious and it's energetic. You can deeply feel when someone is here. You can see it through the gaze of their eyes. You can feel it through their breath, right? You can feel how they breathe. You can see their shoulders are relaxed, right? You can see how they walk. The way that they engage with you in conversation. Like, you can really tell when someone's actually present. It's not just lacking the thoughts. And that tells me like your nervous system feels safe in this moment. And it feels safe in this moment because you aren't running from anything. You can actually just be alive. You can be here. So how I know someone has done the work is they have the capacity to continue to do the work. Yeah. And they don't need, they've got certain people and pillars and practices in their life to continue to lean on. But I would say it's the capacity to continue to actually lean in and grieve and feel and process and stay connected to themselves, to their soul, their depth. That's the biggest indicator for me.
It's a development, which is why it's called personal development. It doesn't finish. Yeah, it's not called personal goal to get to an end point. Yeah, I'm curious, your observation looking at like male and female, do you feel like a lot of these developmental like attributes or instincts apply also to females? Bear in mind, they may not have the same professional aspirations. Like, I feel like whether it's cause or effect, like the masculine, the male wants to fucking build empires, right? Are some of these things not as applicable, or do they just have different applications in a female capacity?
The way, this is such a multifaceted, talking about men and women now, the way I see it in the business space with women is the masculine shield, protection, boss babe, who is striving and grinding and building this business, and you can feel what place it's from.
Yeah, 100%.
You can feel that they don't have a healthy relationship, or they're not letting a man in, or there's no way that she's going to allow herself to soften to a man. It's like, there's, you can feel.
Yeah, I can think of countless examples.
Yes. Yeah. So I would say that's how it manifests in say like the business world with women.
Let's say look at specific examples. Like you mentioned around being present. Women are just naturally more present than men in general. So do you feel like it's not as if they need to do as much work in that domain? Does that make sense?
I've hung out with some women that holy shit. You're like, where did your brain just go? Like honestly, just it's both men and women.
Okay.
It's both men and women. And anyone who feels unsafe in their body struggles to be present, no matter if you're a man or a woman. And what that looks like is hypervigilance, like constantly looking around or needing to speak about all the time. What was that?
Looking at your phone.
Yeah, constantly looking at your phone, scrolling, needing something to feel better. Yeah. Literally, like work can just be a way of just numbing out, distracting, whatever. Even listening to podcasts too.
Yeah, procrastination.
Yeah.
Because you're running from something and you're filling the void with something. It's like positive procrastination. Yeah. It makes you feel like you're making progress, but you're not. And often the more that you procrastinate is actually the less progress that you make anyway.
One thing that comes up for me in this conversation, if there's someone that's thinking, "Wow, there's so much here. There's so much potential things. What if I'm this? What if I'm that? What if I don't have any of this?" If you're questioning yourself, you need someone in your corner.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't know, you need, and it's not from a place of like just for the healing, but you're leaving so much on the table. Relationships, experiences, money, impact, all of it. Like you're leaving so much on the table by not being the fullness of who you are, because you're operating and you're stuck in this state of survival. Like me personally, I don't fucking trust anyone. Like I can't feel like I can trust someone who's not present or doesn't have the capacity to actually be present. There's this feeling of like, I don't feel a depth from you, and I don't feel like I could actually trust you to either do business with you or maybe hire you for a certain reason or yeah. And if I was disconnected from myself, like my clients feel it.
Yeah.
Some days they're like, hey bro, you good? Are you okay? And I'm like, if someone has to ask me that, I'm like, holy fuck, okay, what's going on? If someone has to ask me that, and that's a big red flag for me.
I think what's interesting to double tap on too is how when you do the work or you're in the process of doing the work, it doesn't mean that every day is going to be fantastic or you're always going to be going up and up and up. Like as you alluded to, you know, from working together on many things is like, some days are not great, some days are good, some days are awesome. Okay, what are we going to do as a response to that? And the response may not be more work, right? The response could be more inner work, which is ironic here. But I think that's a good point to understand too for people that are like, okay, fuck, I know I need to do things, but it feels hard. It's like a business. You need someone in your corner for your business. It's still going to be hard, but it's harder on your own.
Yeah. Comes back to capacity, the whole capacity thing. If you're someone who's striving to, you're an entrepreneur, you're striving to create some level of success, what's going to help you integrate, as we shared at the beginning of this podcast, if you actually want to achieve a level of success and actually integrate and embody what it is that you just achieved, so that now becomes your new baseline, not just mentally, but emotionally, energetically, capacity-wise, that now becomes your baseline. You have to prioritize your nervous system. Like your nervous system has to be at the forefront of your mind and priority. So those days where it's like, I'm cooked right now and I know like I just got to keep pushing through or whatever. Okay, cool. Do what you need to do. But also, what are you doing to actually fill your cup and prioritize your nervous system? So those days when I feel like that, I'm like, yeah, cool. Awesome. We're going to do the thing. Right. But after we do the thing, we're going to go get a massage. We're going to go sauna. We're going to go sit in stillness. If I wake up, right, and I'm like, I feel like my heart is contracted right now. Like I feel like I'm holding back some shit. But I got to show up. Like that's leadership. You got to show up even when you don't feel like it. But the number one thing is, what are you doing when you finish working? Are you going to keep working, numb, distract, just have more coffee? Or are you going to actually allow yourself to come back down, slow down and be in stillness and actually feel whatever it is that's causing the contraction? Because that contraction, I can guarantee you, your business will feel it. It happens every time for me. My entire team feels it when I feel it.
What I've noticed in myself is that sometimes it doesn't need to be 4 days. It could be an evening.
Yeah.
You know, preferably like even after this, I'll head to the gym. I'll sit in the sauna. The reason why I like the sauna is because I don't have my phone in the sauna. I don't have the ability to distract. And there's obviously layers to this, but I mean, I guess what's your like step-by-step process for this? So the nervous system is super unregulated right now. Like, let's just go like step by step. What are the 5 concrete steps you'd recommend for someone to come back down the baseline and then integrate continuously to be able to show up better in their life?
It first begins with the simple, like if you're unaware of how you're feeling, like how can you tend to what you need? If you don't know what you need, how can you tend to it, right? So that's the first step, is actually being able to slow down enough to check in with yourself and ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? What is my nervous system asking of me for this moment? Sometimes, the other day for me, I'm the same. I like to go sauna. I like to go do rounds in the sauna and just really slow down. But a sauna is not what I needed because that's actually was too stressful for my body. My body's like, okay, like, yes, sauna is our way of stillness, right? But right now that's actually too stressful for the body because it's actually going to have the reverse effect. You're going to crash more after that. So what I was seeking was stillness. But my only way was just through the sauna. So what I did was I locked everything in the cupboard, or I went into another room and I literally just laid and stared at the ceiling. Just breathed. And I guarantee you create enough space and stillness, you will receive the answers that you've been looking for. And sometimes the answers are like, wow, like your foot has been on the pedal. Where have you been? From what place have you actually been doing this from? Like, what's, it'll come up. Our body will tell us. And that can be the hardest shit for most people, is to literally just lay there, stare at the ceiling, and actually just feel what's seeking to be felt. Typically, it's not as bad as what we think it is. Sometimes we can feel and it'll be like, 5 minutes, I feel much, much better. And I feel like the energy is more freed up and I can now go do the thing. So, and sometimes it's a whole thing. It's a whole afternoon, evening, and it's a whole process.
So a question specifically on duration, so quality of time versus duration of time. So Sahil Bloom, I've grown, he's a person in my network. I wouldn't say he's my friend, but we've had a lot of interactions, and something that really stands out for me with him when his book, The 5 Pillars of Wealth, is quality of time with the partner. So he said, he could spend 15 minutes with his wife in the morning, and it's much better than spending 3 hours watching Netflix. So concentrated time. So let's just take that as an example for the inner work. Do you think that there's an element of busy guy, 5 minutes in the sauna can be as effective as fucking hours of doing X, Y, Z? How do you think about quality versus quantity?
Yeah, it's a good point. Even yes, for someone who has got lots going on and stillness is a challenging thing for them. First thing I actually suggest is, well, do you like saunaing? Cool, go do that. Yeah, that's the first thing.
And you have to breathe in the sauna, so you're intuitively breathing, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Here in Bali, it's a bit different because you go in a sauna and you make 50 friends and you're just talking, and now you're talking about business in the sauna.
I had to move gym because of that.
Yeah. But it's still you're going and doing the thing. You're going and doing the. Can you actually just create a very comfortable, safe space in your home and allow yourself to just lay and feel? Right. So wherever I live, I'll always have maybe a space on the floor or a certain room in the villa that I'm in, or at home, I'll have my own separate room. And that's the space that it's my meditation space. It's my space for feeling. It's my space to just go and lay and literally just feel, emote, be in my process. Now the thing is silences and stillness is just the beginning. What comes up, and it's just like a breathwork journey, right? People go and do breathwork and they're like, wow, I had an amazing experience, whatever. But it's just the stillness that brings what's real to the surface. The integration of what you actually do with what comes up is most important. For example, you might be in stillness and it might drop in for you that, holy shit, I can't keep living the way that I've been living because my relationship is being heavily affected by the way that I've been living. Awesome. Okay, feel whatever you need to feel around that. Now, what are you actually going to do to integrate that? Right, and that's the same with breathwork journeys.
Business, man.
Yeah, it comes down to embodiment, actually doing the thing, and that's what matters most. Is what happens, what you do with the insight that you receive in the stillness. Do you give a fuck about what came up to actually live in integrity with that.
To use an analogy, it happens frequently. Like someone would ask me what to do with their content, with their business, and I would tell them and they say, yeah, but I'm going to do this instead. It's like, if there is a plan, if there is support, follow the fucking plan. Like for other people, you've gone through this, you've documented it. Why would you not just listen to your advice and then actually integrate it and implement it? Otherwise, you're just kind of in awareness and you're just learning shit. Like that's the whole issue with education, just learning things.
Yeah.
And I guess like you can implement the wrong things, you can do the wrong actions, which is why you need that level of input to be able to have the right level of output to get the right outcome. I think it's very interesting because the more I was thinking about this over the weekend, it's like, it's all the same, dude. Like in terms of you have to have the right information to implement it to have the right cause and effect. But where do most people lie? They lie in the education.
Yeah. And I'll tell you a story on this. When it came to like the inner work, I was in the inner work or personal development work for many, many years. I would say leading up to this point, maybe 6 or maybe 7 years, I was in the work. And it was nice to say that I was a quote unquote conscious man.
Yeah.
It was nice to say that, I do the work and whatever. I wasn't really doing the work. I was aware of it. And I was very aware of my wounds. I was very intellectualizing a lot of my wounds, my triggers and whatever. And I was more, I was more attracted to consuming the information from podcasts, from books, doing the courses, the programs, learning all the practices, the protocols and whatever. I was more focused on that than actually embodying the thing, doing the thing. Until the woman I loved more than anything literally walked out on me one day and my nervous system, my body shut down. And I was on the floor convulsing. I was vomiting for about 4 hours. My whole body was in a tremor, which is a trauma response. So it was like shaking, like uncontrollably. And yeah, basically what I was faced with was all of this childhood wounding that I'd become aware of and done, mindset work around and lots of awareness stuff and had some conversations and I thought I forgave my parents and whatever. I was actually faced with the lived experience of, no, you haven't felt this. You know about it. You haven't actually felt it. And this is where the embodiment came in of like, oh, okay, there's this whole embodiment piece of, you can know all about it, but until you actually live and breathe it, it's an experience, it's a felt sense in your nervous system, it means fuck all.
What else is there in embodiment that you've left out?
An embodiment that I've left out.
Yeah, what does it actually feel like? What's the actual experience of that? Because just because you start embodying something doesn't mean you're going to feel better immediately because you're going to come up with more things. So how do you go through that like step-by-step process?
Got you.
Because I feel like that when people start, they're like, oh, fuck. It's like putting your hand in the fire. Like, oh, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
It's going back from growth zone back to comfort zone. I don't want to go in danger zone. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Danger zone is when that event happened. How do you kind of tether between that growth zone and comfort zone through embodiment such that you actually make fucking progress?
Touching on what you shared before, which ties into this around, you could tell someone something. It's kind of like they're not ready to hear it yet.
They have to like experience it themselves to be like, I had this idea.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That happens all the time.
Bro, I literally told you that 7 months ago. Yeah.
Like,
so
this
is a pivotal part in the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell came up with the hero's journey, which was based on mythology, which has been stories that have been told for thousands of years. So it's literally how they used to communicate and share like personal development, and they would communicate through telling stories, right? And in stories, every single story is literally the hero's journey. Every mythological journey is a hero's journey, right? he's got a book called A Thousand Faces or something like that. And basically it's like literally a book about what I just said. But basically the hero's journey is that at some point there is a calling to adventure. At some point you'll be faced with this calling of whenever you're ready to receive the calling, it'll be there, right? So for me, there were many, there were hundreds of invitations for me to enter the cave of my pain in that relationship, but I didn't listen to them because I wasn't ready yet. Same with someone in business. You can tell them all these things, but until they're ready, like they're not going to listen. And what happens is there's a calling. And for me, the calling was getting freaking hit by a truck of emotion and my body shutting down, my nervous system shutting down. That was enough of a calling for me to go, okay, I'm listening. Now, what happened there was, and actually the next stage of the hero's journey is there's many stages, but basically I'm breaking down a very, very simple format. There's what's called the threshold. Now, the threshold is the unknown world. It's, for example, in business, it's like, okay, like I'm ready. I'm going to work with this coach or mentor and I'm scared because I have no fucking idea what's going to happen, right? The unknown. What could happen? Where could this go sort of thing? So same with the deep inner work. I was like, fuck, there's a big calling here for me, a big initiation. This is so scary and it is so unknown. I don't know what's going to happen. I could lose myself in this. Now, the most pivotal part about actually crossing the threshold, right, there's a decision. People will either keep doing what they've always done until it's painful enough and they have no other option but to descend down across the threshold, or they decide, I'm going to cross the threshold. And what happens is when they cross the threshold, they're actually introduced to a mentor. And that mentor supports them as they descend down into the cave of their deepest pain and suffering. In business, it's probably, a lot of people's businesses probably get a lot worse before they get better because they've actually got to maybe undo some shit, 100%. Undo a lot of the old shit that they'd implemented, and they've got to, right, face themselves quite a bit, and then they hit a rock bottom and they're like, fuck this, why am I doing this, whatever. Now, in the hero's journey, in the pit, in the rock bottom, is the death. It's the death of the old self, the old identity, the one that's keeping you stuck and limited in this emotional capacity, this identity, this glass ceiling, this limited ceiling, this thermostat. In the cave, in that death, is a rebirth, but you have to fucking die. There has to be a sacrifice. You can't be reborn if you don't fucking die. You can't step into this new identity, this new level if you don't actually fucking die. And what are we talking about here? It's grief. The hero's journey is the grieving journey. And in the cave, in the pit, is where we receive the gold, the new weapon, the new skill, the new identity, the new embodiment. And then we make our journey back up into the ordinary world, where we've completed the full cycle of the journey. There's many more steps involved, by the way. But what I'm speaking about here is grief. And these are the cycles of grief that we go through. So I'm now going through my next initiation, right, in business. I have my mentors, I have support, I have the people around me, and there's parts of me I feel like are fucking dying. And I'm questioning myself, why am I doing this, whatever. But I know that right now I'm in the pit. And it's exciting, because I understand grief, I understand the hero's journey, and it's something I choose to lean into now because I live in relationship with it. Yeah.
And it's almost like you need to let go of all the stuff that are preventing you from getting to the next level. Like whether that's a bad relationship, whether that's a bad business, whether that's a bad product, like there needs to be like constant, it's the fleshing the skin, right? It's the hermit crab.
Yep. There's no initiation without sacrifice. There has to be blood that is shed. And the thing is within an initiation is you don't actually fucking want an initiation, like a real one. You don't want it. because of what you have to what will be sacrificed. There has to be blood. There has to be pain, right? It's part of the hero's journey. It's part of the grieving. Like something has to die.
Before we wrap up, for someone who's struggling to take that first action, to make that change, to start their personal development journey, to solve their problems and to start the inner work, what advice would you have for them?
Well, this could be the calling if you choose it to be, right? And then the next step is the decision to step across the threshold, and then therefore a mentor, support. Like I'll always have the right men behind me as mentors to support me through my continuous life cycle of initiations of what I'm now stepping into, right? I'll always have people in my corner to support me in that. And if there were like tiny little things that, you know, triggered something within you today, it's like allow that to be the calling before it becomes like, it's like the feather brick in the truck analogy. Like it doesn't have to get to that point, but it's the truth is like we don't listen until we're ready.
The universal whisper at you before I shout to you.
Yeah.
Man, thank you so much. This was so good. From our first podcast or our second as well, it was just really, really great. It's been awesome getting to know you deeper as well. And just been honestly just seeing, man, like where you've kind of adjusted personally and then how that showed up professionally. It's almost like a one-to-one match, right? It's like if you didn't do all this work personally, it wouldn't have reflected in your business. And that's the biggest thing here. It's like, if you selfishly want to grow a business, do the internal work. If that's the only thing that you want to do, you still have to come back and do this. And then obviously you're going to have the serendipity of the rest of life that's going to come with you.
Man, as I always say, like the second to a relationship, like the most spiritual personal growth journey you will ever embark on is entrepreneurship.
100%. Thank you, brother.